Now that Hela has completely surrendered to herself, Lin Yu will naturally help her. And Hela's strength is considered the top in the entire Marvel world. Even compared to Thanos, he didn't lose at all. But she has a shortcoming. That is Asgard. Asgard can provide him with strength, but at the same time, if Asgard is destroyed, her strength will be greatly reduced. Asgard is like a double-edged sword. As long as you protect Asgard, Hela will become stronger and stronger. I'll go to Asgard with you. After going there, first take Surta's crown to the earth, and let Surta and the eternal fire completely separate, so Asgard is safe. Lin Yu said slowly. Hela also nodded. This is indeed a good way. You go back first. Lin Yu looked at the rhubarb Thung and Erha who followed him, and said softly. He originally thought he was going to fight Hela, so he brought Bumblebee and Erha over. But I didn't expect it. Under the influence of the system, Hela became his subordinate. Then, let's go. Lin Yu smiled slightly, turned around, and walked into the ripples of space first. Immediately afterwards, Hela followed with firm eyes. Asgard. In the warehouse. In a spatial ripple, two figures suddenly walked out. Lin Yu and Hela directly crossed countless galaxies and came to Asgard. And since Lin Yu positioned Surta's head, they went directly to the warehouse where the Surta crown was stored in Asgard. This warehouse is not a treasure trove of Odin. Just a general warehouse. Lin Yu saw the huge amounts of the crown at first glance. At the moment when the two appeared here, the alarm sounded in the warehouse. I don't know what mechanism was touched. Outside the door, footsteps have been heard. Countless Asgard soldiers have come to this warehouse. Lin Yu smiled slightly and said, okay, I will take this crown, and I will leave the rest to you. I hope you don't let me down. Lin Yu lifted the crown with one hand, and threw it directly from the unclosed space. And Lin Yu also turned and left. Behind him, Hela nodded and said softly, don't worry, Master, I will definitely let your name spread throughout the universe. A smile appeared on Hela's face. She already felt the power coming from under her feet. That kind of power is constantly being poured into oneself. The strength that had not been replenished for thousands of years began to grow violently. That feeling is quite comfortable. Hela couldn't help groaning comfortably. At this moment, the warehouse door was suddenly pushed open. A bunch of Asgard soldiers suddenly appeared at the door. When they saw Hela, they all raised their weapons and shouted sternly, "Who are you? You dare to enter the warehouse in the palace, and surrender quickly." These soldiers obviously did not know Hela. After Hela was imprisoned by Odin in the underworld, Odin sealed all news about Hela. Even his two sons did not know the news of Hela, let alone these ordinary soldiers, but Hela had anticipated this. She turned around and looked at these young Asgard soldiers. A strange smile appeared on his face. Without participating in the battle for so many years, the soldiers of Asgard are getting worse and worse, Hela sighed. She could feel that there was a big gap between these soldiers and the soldiers when she was there before. It's not a class at all, but, fortunately, I came back. I will definitely train these soldiers again and restore them to the glory of being Asgard fighters. Kneel down and bow down to your queen. Hela's face suddenly became cold, and two magic swords suddenly appeared in her hands. At the moment's magic sword has returned to normal again. But the soldiers still don't know how powerful Hela is. They rushed over. A massacre has officially begun. At the same time, on the earth, Lin Yu also walked out of the ripples in space. He picked up the Surta crown on the ground, his mind moved slightly, and a spatial ripple appeared again in front of him. Then walked in without hesitation. Lin Yu's figure appeared again, already on the space carrier. Lin Yu can actually help Hela win Asgard, but Lin Yu did not do this. He knew that even Hela himself would definitely be able to control the entire Asgard. After Odin's death, it is completely impossible for others to defeat Hela. The only uncertain factor is Thor. This guy has a new weapon in his hand, the Stormaxe. Compared to Mjolnir, Stormaxe is more powerful. But Lin Yu is not very worried either. After all, Hela's strength, even if it can't crush the Stormaxe, it is estimated that there is no problem with Saul, who is holding the Stormaxe. If you lose the battle, you can only blame Hela herself. Lin Yu also doesn't want to be a housekeeper, so he has to come forward for everything. And if Hela really lost to Thor, it would be useless to ask her. Just when Asgard was in chaos, Hela slaughtered Asgard soldiers and was about to fight Thor and Loki. Nidavellir, one of the 9 largest countries in the Marvel world, also welcomed a group of uninvited guests. To be precise, Nidavel is not a planet. It is not a country. They are a star ring composed of several huge amounts of steel, surrounding a fixed star that is about to burn out. On the star ring, the only group of dwarf in Marvel world lives. They are all born blacksmiths. Their legends are circulated throughout the Marvel world. However, few outsiders find them. Because, when Odin existed, they had always been sheltered by Asgard, specializing in crafting weapons for Asgard. But after Odin died, Thanos finally led his fleet, and came here. At the moment, Thanos has already destroyed Xandal and got his first infinite gems, a powerful gem. When Thanos appeared on the star ring with the 5 obsidian generals and countless soldiers, the dwarf were terrified. Although they are just a group of blacksmiths, they are not as ignorant as the people on Earth. They recognized the person in front of them immediately, as a Titan. Thanos is the last survivor of the Titans. King Dwarf immediately sent a distress signal to Asgard. However, asking for help was like sinking into the sea, without any response at all. At the moment, Heimdall is facing Hela with Thor. They are already unable to protect themselves, let alone send an army to rescue the dwarf clan. Definitely. Even if the army is sent over, it is estimated that it will not be able to beat the thriving Thanos. Asgard. When Thor and Loki came to Hela together and saw Hela, they knew Hela's identity the first time. Before he died, Odin reminded them of the existence of Hela. But the only thing they didn't want to understand was why Hela appeared in Asgard so quickly. It is not easy to come to Asgard from the Earth. There is no spacecraft capable of interstellar navigation on the Earth. Even if there is, it will take at least a few months or even years to cross such a long distance. You guys are my 2 younger brothers, Hela asked with a smile. Are you Hela? Loki asked rhetorically. Loki and Thor were at odds, but facing Hela, they still stood together. Not only Loki, even Thor does not have a clear understanding of Hela. There was obviously no prudence and respect in their eyes. Hela was very dissatisfied. These 2 younger brothers looked a little silly. Don't know the sinisterness of the universe? Then, let yourself educate them. Kneel down. Hela said coldly. These 2 words completely detonated Thor and Loki's anger. With the storm axe in his hand, Thor rushed towards Hela for the first time. However, he was horrified to find that Hela could also pick up the storm axe. Thor was frightened. What's more terrifying is that the magic sword in Hela's hand will appear at any time, and it is simply impossible to guard against. And Loki, he couldn't help at all. He is good at conspiracy and trickery, but when he fights, he is like an oil bottle. Nidavel. King Dwarf has no desire to fight at all. 300 dwarf, if it were not for Asgard's shelter, they would never survive in this universe. And now, without Asgard's news, they would not have any resistance at all. Resistance is tantamount to death. The spaceship of Thanos was bigger than the star ring they lived in. If Thanos wanted to destroy them, it would be a simple matter. So, King Dwarf had to accept Thanos' proposal. If I made Infinity Gauntlet for you, would you let my people go? King Dwarf looked at Thanos coldly and asked. What he cares most about is the lives of his own people. Thanos looked at King Dwarf calmly, and then slowly said, well, as long as you build Infinity Gauntlet for me, I won't kill you. King Dwarf didn't think much. He felt that a strong man like Thanos should not lie. He could only obey Thanos' orders to build Infinity Gauntlet for him. The mold of Infinity Gauntlet, Nidavellir, has long been there. However, I have never had the opportunity to use it. From the deepest part of the warehouse, King Dwarf found the mold. Then, it took 2 hours to finally build Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos. Looking at this coveted Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos was obviously in a good mood. Immediately afterwards, he directly took out the power gem and gently placed it on the Infinity Gauntlet. A purple light flashed. The power gem is already inlaid on the glove. He nodded with satisfaction and said, it is indeed the dwarf clan, and it is estimated that only you in the entire universe can build such a weapon. Hearing Thanos' words, King Dwarf's face was obviously better. Listening to the meaning of appreciation in Thanos' words, it seems that the lives of his people should be able to be saved. You are satisfied, Dwarf Wong chuckled. However, at this moment, Thanos also smiled suddenly. That smile made Dwarf King slightly startled. Why doesn't it feel right? At this moment, Thanos suddenly said to his men, kill them all, King Dwarf can stay, but I want his hands, and he won't be allowed to build weapons for anyone in the future. Upon hearing Thanos' words, King Dwarf was terrified. He hurriedly said, no, Didn't you promise me not to kill my people? You can't speak for nothing. Thanos smiled slightly and said slowly, I said that I won't kill you, but it doesn't mean they won't kill you. Thanos pointed to his men, and at the moment, the 5 obsidian generals, as well as the Chitauri soldiers, came up with weapons one after another. King Dwarf was still shouting loudly, but Thanos has returned to his spaceship. He can't wait to try the power of Infinity Gauntlet. The other side, Asgard. Thor and Loki finally tasted the power of Hela. The two of them are not Hela's opponents at all. Hela's magic sword can cause serious damage to them. But Thor's thunder and lightning did not hurt Hela at all. Even if he was hit head-on by the storm axe, Hela's injuries would quickly recover. As long as standing on the land of Asgard, Hela will be constantly replenished. Her power can never be exhausted. Thor is desperate. Seeing the Asgard people being killed, he finally remembered his father's words. Asgard is where there are people. Then, he secretly told his brother Loki that he would go to the warehouse to take out Surta's crown, and then bathe in the eternal fire. He prepared and made Ragnarok by himself. Then, he also ordered Heimdall, with the people of Asgard, to leave Asgard through Bifrost. And the destination is Midgard. He is ready to rebuild his homeland on the earth. After all, I still have the identity of this Avenger on the earth, and I believe that the earth will be willing to accommodate my own people. Loki was very excited. He felt that his elder brother Thor finally dared to do a big thing vigorously like himself. Turning on Ragnarok made Loki extremely excited. But when he came to the royal palace warehouse, he was surprised to find out Surta's crown has disappeared. Without Surta's crown, Ragnarok could not be opened at all. Hela witnessed Loki's departure with her own eyes. She had guessed in her heart what Loki was going to do. But she was not in a hurry. In her heart, she admired Lin Yu even more. Own master, as expected, they even know that they want to open Ragnarok. And Hela did not prevent the people of Asgard from evacuating through Bifrost. For her, these are all trivial matters. Asgard, who rules by itself, doesn't need those cowardly people. What's more, he can also resurrect the fighters who used to fight with him. By the time, I can still lay more territory for the master. Therefore, under the control of Heimdall, the people of Asgard all came to the earth. But just when Heimdall was about to teleport even Thor away, a magic sword suddenly appeared on Heimdall's chest, and a sword penetrated his chest. Hela doesn't care if Thor runs away, but she would not allow Heimdall to take away the guardian sword that turned on Bifrost. Do not. Thor yelled abruptly when Heimdall was pierced with a sword through his chest. His face was full of unwillingness to regret. How he wished he could become stronger. How hopeful to be able to save Heimdall from Hela's hands. But it's too late. Heimdall's body crashed to the ground. But he did not die immediately. As an Asgard mansion, his body is very strong. Even if the long sword penetrated his chest, there was still a trace of vitality. At this time, Heimdall suddenly whispered something. Although his expression was painful, it didn't stop him from whispering. Even Hela didn't notice Heimdall's small movements. At this moment, Hela looked at Thor on the side and walked over coldly. At the moment, Thor was injured all over, even one eye was stabbed by Hela. Thor is desperate. He didn't even want to fight Hela anymore. In the battle just now, he had used his most powerful means of attack and hit Hela. But Hela seemed to have nothing. And as the battle continued, he discovered that Hela's divine power was getting stronger and stronger. She is not her opponent at all. You kill me, Thor said quietly. Most of the people of Asgard have been transmitted to the earth by Heimdall. He has also completed his mission. I'll give you one last chance. If you are willing to surrender to me and serve my master with me, then you can live, Hela said coldly. Had she killed Thor, the arrogant man, before? But now it's different. She is no longer fighting alone. She has her own master. Although Thor does not seem to have a high IQ, his strength is still so-so, and he can become the master's subordinate with himself. At that time, conquer the universe for the master. But hearing Hela's words, Thor was suddenly taken aback. My cheap sister is not alone? She actually has a master? When did the Asgard Protoss need to surrender to others? Who on earth can make such a powerful goddess of death Hela surrender? Your master? Who is your master? Thor asked suspiciously. This news is really unexpected. Hearing Thor's question, a look of respect suddenly appeared on Hela's face. Thinking of Lin Yu, her tone changed. My master is in Midgard. He is an elegant nobleman. He has a huge mechanical guard and a cute pet dog. He is so powerful that he can travel through the universe at will. Hela talked a lot directly, but she didn't know Lin Yu's name. She just knew that she must obey the master's orders. That's it. However, when Hela's voice fell, Su-er's face showed a look of extreme horror. Hela's description is too similar to someone she knows. He also has a robot that can turn into a car, and a pet that can turn into a monster. At the same time, he also appeared in Asgard. Could it be he is the owner of his sister Hela? Lin Yu. How can it be? Although Thor knows that Lin Yu is terrible, Lin Yu seems to be an earthling. How old he is? Hela is at least several thousand years old. How can a person who is several thousand years old recognize a guy who is only in his 20s as his master? At this moment, Thor asked weakly, "Is your master named Lin Yu?" Hela shook her head slightly. Thor let out a long roar breath. As long as it's not Lin Yu, that's good. If Lin Yu becomes the master of Hela, then the two of them get together. I am afraid the whole universe will be disturbed. Hela's desire to conquer the universe, coupled with Lin Yu's strength and weirdness, when the two cooperate, it is estimated that the entire universe will suffer. But before Thor was happy for too long, Hela went on to say, "I don't know the name of the master, but he sent me here from Midgard. If he needs himself, he can always contact himself." Hela's words made Thor frown again. "You don't even know the name of your own master? Then what does your master look like?" Thor asked again. Hela didn't want to talk nonsense with Thor, but considering that she had to help her master expand her influence, she could only reluctantly said, "My master, very young, looks very thin, short hair, yellow skin." Before Hela finished describing, Thor's eyes widened again. "Isn't this the one who is special as Lin Yu?" Lin Yu has yellow skin. After combining the Autobots and the inseparable husky pet dog, Thor has basically determined that the owner of Hela is Lin Yu. But Lin Yu should be his own, although I was afraid of him, and he didn't communicate with himself very much. But isn't he an honorary advisor to Avengers? And he is also a member of Avengers. No matter how you count it, it shouldn't be an enemy. Thor wanted to cry without tears. In his heart, he suddenly thought of Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. If Nick Fury is in front of him, then he must talk to him well. It seems that Nick Fury and Lin Yu have the best relationship. At this time, a colorful light suddenly appeared beside Thor. Heimdall, without using the Guardian Sword, opened the portal directly. That is a method that can only be used in desperate situations. Without guarding the long sword, he must consume his own vitality to open the portal. But now, his life is about to come to an end. It is nothing to him to consume a little life force. Only by keeping Thor's life, Asgard can develop again and return to the glory of the past. The colorful rays of light enveloped Su-er instantly. His body also rose into the air in an instant. Very fast. Before Hela could react, Thor's figure disappeared from sight. But Hela didn't have much surprise. She had guessed where Thor's destination was. In Midgard, his master is there. If the owner wants to subdue Thor, it should be a very easy thing. I don't need to care much at all. As for Heimdall, Hela turned her head and glanced at him coldly. Then, with a light wave, a huge amounts of magic swords stabbed out of the ground. Stabbed Heimdall directly into the sky. Immediately afterwards, a smile appeared on the corner of Hela's mouth. It seems that he still has a younger brother who has not escaped. Hela felt that compared to Thor, his other brother looked a little smarter. Since Thor is unwilling to surrender himself, the other brother will definitely be willing. And Hela already knows where his brother is. At this moment, Hela suddenly pulled out a blue square from her body. Tesseract. Hela didn't know when, she had already taken Tesseract in her hands. In the entire Odin treasure house, only Tesseract and the Eternal Fire are useful. The Eternal Fire is not convenient to carry, but Tesseract is much simpler. She doesn't want anyone to use Tesseract to escape. So, as soon as she came to Asgard, she took Tesseract away. At the moment, Hela held Tesseract in both hands, and at a slight thought, a portal appeared in front of her. She walked in without hesitation. Tesseract is actually Space Gem. Only, without Infinity Gauntlet, it is difficult to fully utilize the power of Space Gem. It also cannot be used multiple times in a row. If it is not used once, it will cause a great burden on the body. But once or twice, for Hela, there is still no big problem. At the moment, Asgard Palace, in the treasure house of Odin. Loki looked a little big. He went to the warehouse first, and did not find Sturda's crown as Thor said. So he came to Odin's treasure house in a hurry. Loki thought, well, if you can't find Sturda's crown here, you can at least get Tesseract. With Tesseract, you can go wherever you want. Can't beat it, at least it can run away, however. When he came to Odin's treasure house, he was horrified to find that not only Sturda's crown was not here, but even Tesseract was gone. Something is wrong. I clearly remembered that Tesseract was stored here before. Who took it away? Thor stood in front of the table where Tesseract was originally stored, his face extremely ugly. If Tesseract is not there, is it possible that I have to go back to Bifrost? I don't know how the battle is going, but it was obvious that his stupid brother Thor could not be Hela's opponent. Passing by yourself now is tantamount to dying. What to do? Loki didn't know what to do. It's impossible. Sneak away. Loki knew that there was a secret passage to leave Asgard. Sing, just do it. Loki gritted his teeth and made a decision immediately. Rather than die with CDAH, it's better to sneak away by yourself. Stay in the Green Mountains without worrying about no firewood. But just when Loki just turned around and was about to sneak away, in front of him, a dark blue portal suddenly appeared. In the portal, a figure in a green tights walked out slowly. Hela. Loki took a few steps back, frightened. At this moment, Hela also appeared completely in the Odin treasury. She smiled, raised Tesseract with one hand, and then smiled and asked Mimi, "My good brother, are you looking for this thing?" At the same time, on the earth, a colorful light suddenly appeared. It landed on the square in front of the SHIELD headquarters building. Nick Fury was shocked when he was about to go out. Definitely. It was just a shock. He knew this colorful beam of light and knew that Thor should be here. Thor hasn't come to Earth for a long time. It is said that the 9 realms are not very peaceful now, and his work is also very busy. Nick Fury hurriedly walked over, wanting to greet Thor. But Nick Fury was stunned when he saw Thor lying on the ground. At the moment, Thor's body is covered in blood, his body is almost tattered, and even one eye is blind. And Thor is directly in a coma. Nick Fury hurriedly walked forward 2 steps, leaned down and checked. Fortunately, Thor doesn't seem to be dead yet. And roar sucks, but it's very weak. Hill, hurry up and contact the doctor. Nick Fury hurriedly shouted behind him. After a while, Hill agent showed up in front of the SHIELD building with the doctor of SHIELD. Several people worked together to lift Thor onto the stretcher. Then, I quickly pulled to SHIELD headquarters and started treatment. But Thor's physical fitness is indeed strong. Even though the injury was so serious, he quickly woke up. He just opened one eye and saw where he was. He immediately yelled, "Fury, Nick Fury, Director Fury." The cry seemed piercing. Nick Fury hurried over after receiving the notice from his agent. At the moment, Thor is already sitting up on the hospital bed. Although the injuries on his body were painful, he grinned a little bit. But when he saw Nick Fury, he stood up anxiously. Save Asgard. When Thor saw Nick Fury's first words, he made Nick Fury a little bit hesitant. When did I have so much energy? Save Asgard. What happened to Asgard? Nick Fury hurriedly helped Thor sit on the bed, and then asked, "What's the matter? What happened?" Thor calmed down a little bit, and then said, "My father died, and then my father banished my sister in the underworld. The goddess of death Hela returned to Asgard, slaughtered my people, killed Heimdall, and stabbed him blind. With my glasses, we are not her opponents at all. More than half of my people have been teleported to Earth by Heimdall before he died, but a small part is still in Asgard, and Loki is still there. Chief Fury, you can save them." Hearing Thor's explanation, Nick Fury probably understood what happened to Asgard. It's very simple. It's Thor's sister, a bad guy. The bad guys defeated the good guys. But how can I save Asgard? I am just a director of SHIELD. I still have some power on the Earth, but I can't control Asgard's affairs. What's more, Thor is not an opponent, so I can't help it. I sympathize with what happened to you and your people. If you want me to help you arrange your people, I can help, but if you want me to help you solve your sister, I am afraid I can't do anything," Nick Fury explained. Arrange a residence for the people of Asgard. As the director of SHIELD, he still has this ability. But the goddess of death, Hela, is not something she can deal with. Listening to Thor, Hela's strength, even if all Avengers were to go, I am afraid it would not be an opponent. At this moment, Thor suddenly grabbed Nick Fury's hand and said, No, in this universe, I am afraid that only you can save my people. This sentence made Nick Fury even more bewildered. Why don't I know that I have such a big energy? At this moment, Thor said again, because, I know, among the people on Earth I know, your relationship with Lin Yu is the best. Lin Yu? Nick Fury was taken aback for a moment, and asked suspiciously. Lin Yu? Nick Fury is a little bit hesitant. It's clearly Asgard's business, how does it involve Lin Yu? Nick Fury knows that Lin Yu has always been weird, but it is impossible to have anything to do with Asgard, right? But, hearing Nick Fury's suspicious voice, Thor nodded slightly. Then he said, yes, it's Lin Yu. What's wrong with Lin Yu? Nick Fury asked puzzledly. Thor said again with an ugly expression, Lin Yu, the owner of Hela, is the master behind this incident. Thor's words left Nick Fury completely stunned. Hela, the goddess of death, that is a god's mansion. A god who can destroy most of Asgard by himself. Even Thor Loki teamed up, they are not her opponents at all. But Thor even said that the owner of Hela, the goddess of death, is Lin Yu. And Lin Yu also planned the entire event of Hela's destruction of Asgard. This news is really amazing. If someone else told Nick Fury, he would never believe it. However, it was the Prince of Asgard who told myself the news, now nominally the new king of Asgard, Thor. He can't lie about this kind of thing. Nick Fury took 2 steps back slowly, and slumped in the chair behind him. After a few minutes, he slowly recovered from the shock. You mean, Lin Yu controls everything behind the scenes, and it was he who made Hela kill in Asgard? Nick Fury asked again. He must figure it out thoroughly and he must be cautious. After all, this matter is too big. Thor's mood today is extraordinarily heavy. It is the saddest day since he grew up. His own people were mercilessly slaughtered, and their homes were occupied by the enemy. This makes him more sad than when his father Odin died. In normal times, he is not the kind of person who can explain patiently. But today, he can only slowly say again, yes, Hela personally admitted that it was Lin Yu who sent him to Asgard. Can Lin Yu go to Asgard? Nick Fury asked again. Thor nodded and replied, yes, he had been there a long time ago. At this moment, Thor said again, Chief Fury, I'm afraid only you can save Asgard. Faced with Thor's request, Nick Fury was quite entangled. But he finally relented. Thor has helped himself many times before. This time, even if he is also afraid of Lin Yu, he can only bite the bullet and try. Okay, then I'll go talk to Lin Yu, Nick Fury said. At the same time, in the universe, after obtaining the power gem, Thanos got the soul gem again. Now, he already has 2 infinite gems in his hand. And he has basically figured out where the other gems are. Space gem, in Asgard. Time gem, in Kamar Taj. Mind gem, in S.H.I.E.L.D. Reality gem, in the hands of Lin Yu. In other words, except for the space gem, all other gems are on Earth. At the moment, on the spaceship of Thanos. Thanos' most core subordinate, the 5 Obsidians, except Supergiant went out to investigate the news, the other 4 are there. At the moment, the most cunning Ebony Maw said, Master, let's go to Earth first. The woman in Asgard is said to be no weaker than Odin. It is not too late to find her after the Master has collected 5 infinite gems. The most reckless Black Dwarf said, the Master's strength, even if you don't use infinite gems, that woman is definitely not an opponent. General Corvus Glaive is also ready to make his own point of view. But Thanos suddenly reached out and stopped them from speaking. Thanos squinted, as if thinking about something. Among all the infinite gems, what Thanos wants to get first is actually the space gem. With space gem, he can travel through space at will. Go where you want. But he had some knowledge of Hela, the goddess of death. After thousands of years of money, Hela's reputation has spread almost throughout the universe. In the years when Asgard fought abroad, the power of Hela has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Even compared to Odin in its heyday, it is not much better. And now Hela also owns the space gem. If you want to grab the space gem in her hands, I am afraid it will not be easy. Moreover, after alarming her, it is even more difficult to attack her. So, there is only one best solution now. Get the 3 infinite gems on the Earth first. At that time, he will have 5 infinite gems in his hands. Dealing with Hela is much simpler. Especially Reality Gem, it will improve one's actual strength again. At this moment, Thanos slowly said, go to the Earth first. It is said that there are a group of Avengers on the Earth. Then let us see how strong these Avengers are. Thanos knew about the existence of Avengers, but he didn't pay much attention to it. After all, the scientific and technological methods on the Earth are quite backward, and the physical quality of human beings is just like that. Among the Avengers, it seems that the most powerful is in Asgard. His own staff, Supergiant, has already found out all the news. After Thanos gave an order, the huge space fleet began to sail in the direction of the Earth. Although the location is far away, it is estimated that it will be reachable within a few days. On the Earth, S.H.I.E.L.D. began to help Thor settle his people. And Nick Fury, alone, took his shape-shifting King Kong fighter plane to Lin Yu's space carrier. When Nick Fury just set sail, Lin Yu received the news from Bumblebee. After all, the shape-shifting King Kong aircraft is nominally the property of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it is all under the jurisdiction of the Hornet. Bumblebee has the highest authority. In other words, as long as the Hornet is willing, the shape-shifting King Kong of S.H.I.E.L.D. will immediately obey his orders. Definitely. Lin Yu has no interest in this shape-shifting King Kong plane. After all, he still has 7, parked on the deck of the space carrier. At the moment, accompanied by roars, Nick Fury's plane slowly landed on the space carrier. After the space carrier has been transformed, there are fewer positions on the deck. Only this kind of airplane that can land and take off upright can land on it. Those who need a runway will not be able to fall. After all, there are all swimming pools above. Get off the plane. Nick Fury was stunned by the sight in front of him. It was the first time he came to Lin Yu's space carrier. He hasn't been here since the space carrier became Lin Yu's property. At this moment, seeing that the entire space carrier was transformed into a huge amounts of swimming pool by Lin Yu, he was directly stunned by Lin Yu's generous amount of money. Knowing that in the distance, Lin Yu brought 2 women, Wanda and Sharon, over, and Nick Fury slowly calmed down and greeted him. Counselor Lin is really generous, Nick Fury complimented. Lin Yu waved his hand indifferently and said, "What's this? It was given by the United States, and I can't help it." This sentence almost choked Nick Fury. The number 1 in the United States sent it? Lin Yu's face is too big. However, there is nothing to imagine. After all, the gods of Asgard are afraid of Lin Yu, let alone the little leader of the United States. After sitting down on the chair by the pool, Sharon brought Nick Fury a glass of water. Nick Fury stood up flattered and took the water. Although Sharon used to be his own subordinate, but now he dare not disrespect Sharon. Sharon has nothing to do with this. Who let himself follow Lin Yu? With a light smile at Nick Fury, Sharon left with Wanda. Although she and Nick Fury have a good relationship with, but it seems that Nick Fury should have something to do with Lin Yu this time. So they left enough space for them. After a rant between Nick Fury and Lin Yu, they finally got to the point. "Counselor Lin, Thor came to Earth yesterday," Nick Fury said weakly. He didn't directly ask Asgard about it. He didn't dare to ask. You can only tap from the side first, but thinking carefully about this, naturally, I can't hide Lin Yu. Definitely, Nick Fury didn't say it, and Lin Yu didn't directly pierce it either. Oh? How is his situation recently? Lin Yu asked with a smile. Don't think about it. Lin Yu also knows that it's definitely not much better. Really? Nick Fury replied weakly. One of his eyes was stabbed blind and his body was seriously injured. Lin Yu nodded slightly and said, "Well, if you don't die." Nick Fury said, "The man who made him so miserable. It's okay if you haven't died?" Nick Fury was taken aback suddenly. "I don't seem to know how to answer the call." Lin Yu smiled slightly and said, "Yeah, in front of Hela, can you still be killed? Isn't it pretty good?" Hearing Lin Yu's words, Nick Fury suddenly stood up on his seat. He looked at Lin Yu with horror. Unexpectedly, Lin Yu admitted it himself. When he actually came, he still had some doubts about Thor's words. After all, Lin Yu is just an Earthling, and all his information is recorded on the files of S.H.I.E.L.D. Thor said that Lin Yu was able to go to Asgard and that he was behind the Asgard massacre. This is a bit ridiculous. But Nick Fury didn't expect Lin Yu to admit it himself. After Nick Fury stood up, he took 2 steps back slowly. Then, he said incredulously, "Yu, are you really behind the scenes?" Lin Yu was taken aback for a moment. What was behind the scenes? What is behind the scenes? Lin Yu asked. Nick Fury hurriedly asked again. It's the death of Asgard, the massacre of the people, and the man behind Thor's blindness. Lin Yu was completely stunned. Why did he become the Black Hand behind the scenes? Those who did those things are obviously Gila. It was not arranged by oneself. Lin Yu shook his head and said, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm not the big demon king. Why did you kill the Asgard?" Lin Yu's words confused Nick Fury. He asked suspiciously, "Didn't you arrange for Gila to go to the Asgard massacre?" "Where did you know?" Lin Yu asked suspiciously. Thor said, "Gila personally said you are her master." Lin Yu was taken aback. With that said, it seems that there is really no problem in saying that I am behind the scenes. Gila is indeed his subordinate. Only, I didn't control her. But Lin Yu doesn't want to carry such a name. Although Lin Yu really doesn't care about fame or anything. But Lin Yu decided to explain a little bit. At this time, Lin Yu suddenly waved gently. In front of Lin Yu and Nick Fury, a transparent spatial ripple appeared. Immediately afterwards, a woman in a green tights walked out of it. When he saw the woman, Nick Fury took a few steps back in a hurry. There was a look of horror on his face again. "Don't think about it, you know who this person is. That exaggerated shape, elegant pace, and two long swords in both hands. It is exactly the same as the image of the goddess of death Hela described by Thor." Oh my goodness. Lin Yu actually summoned the goddess of death directly. Sure enough, what Thor said was true. At this moment, Hela, the goddess of death, suddenly knelt on one knee and saluted Lin Yu respectfully. "Hela, see the master." "Hela, tell me, did I order you to slaughter the people of Asgard?" Lin Yu asked directly. Hela replied respectfully, "Master, it was not your order, it was Hela's own opinion." "Well, Consultant Lin, you don't need to explain this to me, I just asked casually." Nick Fury was so scared that he could hardly speak. Nick Fury wasn't here to ask the guilt either. He didn't dare to say too much to Lin Yu, and now Lin Yu called Hela directly, and he was terrified. This woman is a real monster. According to Thor, after Hela went to Asgard, there were at least thousands or even tens of thousands of Asgard people killed. Such a dangerous guy, Nick Fury dare not offend. At this moment, Lin Yu smiled slightly and said to Hela, "How is your handling?" Hela leaned slightly and said, "Return to the master, Asgard is basically stable. I used the eternal fire to resurrect my pets and the undead army. My brother Loki has also surrendered to me. The Asgard army will always follow the master's orders." "Yeah, not bad." Lin Yu nodded slowly. Since Hela has already recognized herself as Lord, then she can't be too Tsunere. Then it can only take Asgard's strength into the bag. However, just after Lin Yu finished asking, he was about to send Hela back to Asgard. The bumblebee's voice suddenly rang in Lin Yu's earphones. "Boss, I detected a spaceship with huge amounts of spacecraft, and it suddenly appeared out of the Earth's orbit," Bumblebee said. At the same time, Nick Fury also picked up a call. On the phone, Hill anxiously reported to Nick Fury, "Director Fury, the satellite of S.H.I.E.L.D. detected a huge spacecraft outside the Earth, slowly flying towards the Earth." Nick Fury frowned and looked at Lin Yu. And Lin Yu also turned his head and looked at Nick Fury. Both of them saw a touch of solemnity in each other's eyes. "Thanos coming," Lin Yu said lightly. "Thanos?" Hela and Nick Fury asked in confusion at the same time. The two of them are obviously not very familiar with this name. After Lin Yu came to this world, many plots have changed. Although Lin Yu has tried his best not to affect the normal development of this world, there are still many things that have become different from the original movie. Vision did not appear, Hela did not die, Dormammu did not appear on the Earth through Caecilius, and even Thanos appeared directly above the Earth. In the original plot, Thanos was the Earth that sent his men to come first. Doctor Strange went to Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf. And General Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight were looking for Vision. In the end, he fought Iron Man Tony and Doctor Strange on Titan. But now, none of that happened. Thanos actually came directly to the Earth. After hearing the news, Lin Yu, Nick Fury, and Hela all raised their heads. At the moment, over New York, we can already see the huge spaceship in the sky. That is Thanos' spaceship. Lin Yu is very familiar. Although it seems that the spacecraft is not big in this way, Lin Yu knows that its actual file size is at least the same as that of the entire New York City. On that spacecraft, he has all of Thanos' net worth. His army, including Vanguard and Chitauri, are there. This time, I am afraid it will be the most dangerous war on the planet. Thanos started, but he was never soft. At this moment, Nick Fury nervously asked Lin Yu again, "Consultant Lin, do you know who is in that spaceship? Faced with this situation, Thanos has completely forgotten about Asgard. Compared to the distant Asgard, he cares more about the fate of the Earth. Hearing Nick Fury's question, Hela also looked at Lin Yu in confusion. She has never heard of Thanos either. Speaking of Thanos, Lin Yu's face became more serious. In the Marvel Universe movie, Thanos should be regarded as the final boss. Although there are many more powerful guys in this world than Thanos. However, Thanos' strength is beyond doubt. Lin Yu faintly explained. His name is Thanos, he is a swordsman. He kills everywhere in the universe. When he encounters any planet, he will kill half of the lives. It is said to keep the universe in balance. Then he came to the Earth to kill half of the human beings on the Earth? Nick Fury asked hurriedly. But Lin Yu shook his head. No, he came to Earth because of infinite gems, Lin Yu explained. Upon hearing the name Infinite Gems, Hela obviously knew something. She raised her hand, and a blue cube appeared in her hand. Master, are you talking about this thing? Hela asked. Lin Yu nodded. Lin Yu has long known that Tesseract is in Asgard. However, Lin Yu didn't want to get it either. After all, being in Hela's hands is no different from being in his own hands. Moreover, use the system yourself, go wherever you want, you don't need Tesseract at all. Looking at the Tesseract in Hela's hand, Lin Yu seemed to think of something suddenly. Since Hela is on the Earth, now, it seems that there are 4 infinite gems on the Earth. The reality gem is in the Hornet, the time gem is in Ancient One, and the mind gem is. Lin Yu looked at Nick Fury and said, is Loki's spiritual scepter in S.H.I.E.L.D.? Nick Fury nodded unclearly. And Lin Yu went on to say, the mind scepter is the mind gem. What use are these infinite gems you said? Nick Fury asked again. He had never heard the word infinite gems before. I don't even know what mind gem is the mind scepter placed in S.H.I.E.L.D. Lin Yu faintly explained. The 6 infinite gems, each has its own ability, but if Thanos collects 6 infinite gems, he only needs to snap his fingers to kill half of the lives in the universe. Definitely, it may be all life. This sentence completely frightened Nick Fury. That Thanos is so cruel. He hurriedly said to Lin Yu, Counselor Lin, if Thanos comes, you will do it, right? Actually, in Nick Fury's heart, although Lin Yu described so many things about Thanos, he still thinks Lin Yu is the strongest. Thanos is not expected to be Lin Yu's opponent. That's why he asked. Lin Yu didn't want any benefit at all this time, so he nodded. Definitely, the Earth is also my home. I can't let him do anything wrong here. Lin Yu will definitely stop Thanos. If he really gets 6 infinite gems, then even if he owns the system, he may not necessarily be his opponent. But it is impossible for him to get 6 infinite gems. After all, if you count, you have 3. The time gem on Ancient One should also be his own. After all, Ancient One has now become Gul'dan's subordinates. At this moment, while the 3 were chatting, the huge spaceship in the sky had slowly entered the Earth's atmosphere. A violent red light appeared on the spaceship. At this moment, Nick Fury finally couldn't sit still. He said goodbye to Lin Yu, Counselor Lin, then I will go back first. I also want S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers to prepare. Lin Yu nodded slightly. Nick Fury hurriedly boarded his plane and drove in the direction of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Lin Yu chatted with Hela relaxedly. At the moment, Hela has completely identified Lin Yu as the master in her heart. So, the two chatted very happily. It seems that he is not worried about Thanos' arrival at all. At the same time, S.H.I.E.L.D. Once Nick Fury returned to S.H.I.E.L.D., he started to act. First of all agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are dispatched to build defenses and evacuate the crowd. Nick Fury also notified the United States official for the first time. In addition, Nick Fury also notified the members of Avengers. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building, the Avengers quickly gathered together. Iron Man Tony Stark, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye Barton, Captain of the United States Steve, Hulk Dr. Banner, Black Panther T'Challa, Spider-Man Parker, War Machine Colonel Rod, Falcon Sam Wilson. Even Thor came here. The injury on his body is almost healed. Although the eyes could not be restored, the combat effectiveness was not affected at all. Except Lin Yu, all the Avengers are here. Standing at the front of the meeting room, Nick Fury explained the existence of Thanos to all the Avengers. Hearing that Thanos was about to kill half of the lives in the universe, all the Avengers were a little shocked. Only Thor seems to have heard of Thanos' name a long time ago. After all, He was once the prince of Asgard and knew many things in the universe. Therefore, he has naturally heard of Thanos' greatness. At this moment, Thor stood up and said faintly, "Thanos is indeed very strong. I have heard of him a long time ago." Sky. Thanos' spacecraft hovered slowly over New York City. The black hull and huge size made the people of New York flee in fright. Where have they seen such a horrible scene? Even at the time of the Battle of New York, the moment when the Chitauri army arrived, it was not as oppressive as it is now. Those Chitauri, at best, look strange. Even the Leviathan behemoth, compared with this spaceship, is still insignificant. That huge amounts of spacecraft, just from the naked eye, is quite terrifying. On the spacecraft, people can even clearly see the huge weapons arranged in rows. It is conceivable that if those weapons fired, it would be absolutely devastating to the Earth. The whole New York City is all messed up. The people all ran away in a panic. At this moment, the troops of the New York Military District also came to the streets of New York City. They received an official order to evacuate the crowd, establish a line of defense, and resist the invasion of aliens. But when the soldiers saw the huge spaceship, they thought the same as ordinary people. The fear in my heart cannot be stopped at all. After seeing the spaceship, looking at the tank next to me, it felt like the difference between an ant and an elephant. No, not even ants. But these soldiers had to obey the orders of their superiors, and could only bite the bullet and set up a defensive position. And at the moment, SHIELD headquarters. All Avengers members have also appeared outside the headquarters building. All of them looked at this huge spaceship in shock. In front of this spaceship, they all felt their own insignificance. Although they didn't have any thoughts of shrinking in their hearts, they all knew that this would be the most terrifying battle in their lives. Maybe you will die here, but you can only fight to the death. Sky. The huge spaceship finally moved again. A beam of light shone not far from the Avengers headquarters building. In that beam of light, several figures walked out. The one at the front has a head like a purple potato, with vertical lines on his face, and an extremely burly figure. It is one of the biggest bosses in the Marvel world, Thanos. Behind him, except for Supergiant, all the other 4 of Obsidian 5 arrived. Opposite Thanos, all the Avengers also walked forward slowly. The two parties finally met for the first time. At this time, Iron Man Tony spoke first. His character is still very unique. "Sorry, the Earth is closing today, so you should go back," Tony took a step forward and said to Thanos. Thanos did not speak. Behind him, Ebony Maw took 2 steps forward and said to the Avengers, "The great Titan Thanos descends on the Earth. You quickly hand over the infinite gems, otherwise you will not be able to bear the anger of my master." At the moment, the Captain of the United States also took a step forward, holding the shield, and said to Ebony Maw, "You should go back, we will not hand over anything, and the Earth is not something you can bully." Hearing the words of Captain the United States and Iron Man, Ebony Maw looked a little ugly. He didn't bother to communicate with these Avengers, turned around, saluted Thanos respectfully, and then said, "Master, let me kill these ignorant people on Earth, and then get you back infinite gems." But Thanos did not nod in agreement. He looked at the soldiers of the New York Military District who were gradually surrounding him, and then at the Avengers who were waiting in battle. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. Immediately afterwards, Thanos spoke slowly and said, "Arrange for all the troops to be dispatched. There is no need for life on this planet. Since the other party is not willing to hand over infinite gems, after killing them all, it is the same with infinite gems." Upon hearing Thanos' command, the eyes of Ebony Maw and others all lit up. Killing is always exciting. In Thanos' view, the combat effectiveness of this planet is really not very good. The weapons used by those human soldiers are quite backward. It is totally incomparable with his own vanguard. The so-called Avengers in front of him are no different from Joker. A group of mobs don't need to act on their own. Even the Obsidian 5 does not need to make a move. After Thanos gave the order, the spacecraft in the sky had new movements again. Below the spacecraft, a lot of passages suddenly opened. In those passages, countless triangular landing bins descended from the sky. The most powerful soldiers under Thanos were stored in those landing bins. Their name is called Vanguard. The war is about to start. At the moment, not far from the Thanos spacecraft, a seemingly small space carrier is slowly flying. Compared to Thanos' spacecraft, the space carrier is indeed relatively small. Therefore, it did not attract Thanos' attention at all. At the moment, on the deck of a space carrier, Lin Yu and Gila, as well as the 2 women Wanda and Sharon who had just walked over, were quietly watching the spacecraft in the distance and the situation on the ground. Wanda and Sharon are already eager to try. Sharon has even picked up Mjolnir. This surprised Hela, because Mjolnir used to be her weapon. But Hela can see that Lin Yu's relationship with that woman is unusual. So, Hela didn't ask anything. Moreover, she had long wanted to fight happily in her heart. Don't care about him, Thanos. If you dare to show up in front of your master, you will die. However, Lin Yu didn't seem to be in a hurry. There was still a smile on his face, quietly looking at Thanos below. And at the moment, when Thanos appeared on the Earth and was seen by Lin Yu, the system reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for first meeting Thanos, the core protagonist of the Marvel world, and earning 2 plot points. Ding. Congratulations to the host that the plot point has reached the system promotion requirements. May I ask whether the host is now starting to advance? Lin Yu was overjoyed. The plot points needed for the system to advance are finally enough. Promote. Lin Yu said silently to the system in his heart. Then, a blue light suddenly appeared in Lin Yu's line of sight. The system panel appeared suddenly and changed rapidly. The appearance of the system panel has changed drastically. It becomes more gorgeous, like the ugly duckling becomes a white swan. And at the moment, the data on the system panel has also changed. Host. Lin Yu system level. Level 6, the highest level of the system. After being upgraded to level 6, the upgrade will no longer be continued. The impact of the system can affect space and time in addition to the thoughts of objects and creatures. In front of the host, no matter what it may mutate. Plot point. 0 points remaining appearance range of mutants. Any living and non-living matter that is connected with the host, the space and time around which the host is connected with the host, and the attribution of the mutant is not restricted. Negative mutation ability. Any life or object that the host does not like or hate will be affected by negative mutation. The range of negative mutation and the probability of occurrence of each level of mutation are related to the system level, and the probability of positive mutation is the same. Probability of each level of variant. Level 1 variant appearance probability, 0%. Probability of second-order mutants, 10% probability of third-order mutants, 20%. Probability of fourth-order mutants, 30% appearance probability of Tier 5 variants, 30%. Probability of sixth-order mutants, 10% probability of 7th-order mutants, 1%, can be triggered in extreme cases. The highest level is a 7-level mutant. On the blue light curtain in front of Lin Yu, the latest system attributes are displayed. What surprised Lin Yu was that the highest level of his system was level 6. In other words, I no longer need to collect passion points in the future. But Lin Yu didn't care that the system could no longer be upgraded again. Because now, the most powerful mutant around him is only level 5. Gul'dan is a 5th level mutant, definitely. There are already a lot of mutants around Lin Yu. Hela is also a 5th level variant. During this period of time, the Erha with multiple ability has been integrated, and it has also been smoothly promoted to the 5th level, and the Hornet after integrating the reality gem has also entered the ranks of the 5th level. It can be said, Lin Yu's current power is already very powerful. After adding the system upgrade, as long as it is something Lin Yu doesn't like or life, it will be affected by negative mutation. Lin Yu is almost invincible in the Marvel world. At this moment, seeing that many familiar login devices suddenly appeared on Thanos' spacecraft. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth also slightly curled up. Seem. The final battle has come. Compared to the movies I watched in my previous life, it seems to come a bit earlier. But, early, anyway, I am ready. Subsequently, Lin Yu closed his eyes gently. A spatial ripple suddenly appeared in front of Lin Yu, Hela and others. Lin Yu took the lead and stepped in. Immediately afterwards, the 3 women, Hela, Wanda and Sharon, also walked in slowly. At the moment, behind all the Avengers, Lin Yu's figure suddenly walked out. Then Hela et al. This made Thanos, who was standing in the distance watching the group of Avengers, suddenly stunned. That kind of weird way of appearance made him feel a little surprised. Not only Thanos, but the Avengers were also stunned. They are ready to fight, but found out. Lin Yu took 3 women and appeared behind him. Especially Thor. When he saw the person who appeared, who had driven himself out of Asgard and blinded him, he almost jumped in fright. Why did you come to Earth? Thor hurriedly backed away a few steps. He was a little scared by his sister Hela, but Hela ignored Thor. At the moment, she was like a loyal guard, following Lin Yu closely. For Thor, Lin Yu did not care too much. Lin Yu had just arrived on the ground, his eyes kept looking at Thanos in front of him. For Thanos, Lin Yu is still very cautious. After all, in previous Marvel movies, Thanos can be regarded as the final boss in the early Marvel. There is no doubt about his strength, don't ever. Lin Yu is not afraid of Thanos either, it's just some interest. At this moment, at least dozens of huge amounts of landing warehouses landed near the center of New York City. The whole of New York has become a sea of flames. What's more terrifying is, when those huge amounts of landing bin opened the door, everyone was horrified to find that endless monsters suddenly burst out of those landing bins. Those monsters had 4 arms, 2 thick thighs, and bulging muscles all over. Even more frightening is that those monsters have huge amounts of big mouths on their heads, and their mouths are full of sharp fangs. They are all born to fight. As soon as the hatch opened, the monsters ran out like crazy and attacked the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. And at the moment, for S.H.I.E.L.D., there are only a few hundred agents. And although these agents have guns in their hands are shaking a little. Their faces are covered with sweat. Some people even get wet in the crotch. They had never seen such a terrifying monster. Facing Wang Yang's sea-like monster, these agents were a little scared and wanted to escape. Behind them, the soldiers of the New York military have also built fortifications. But no matter in terms of quantity or momentum, there is a big gap with Thanos' vanguard. It is foreseeable that when the vanguards rush over, it is when this fortification will be destroyed. Far away, behind the window on the top floor of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building, Nick Fury stood there quietly. Behind him are several of his core subordinates. Hill and Phil Coulson were on the list, but their faces are not pretty. Standing on a high place, they can clearly see the number of vanguards. You can also see their terrifying teeth healing and crazy figures. Phil Coulson said worriedly, "Boss, can the Avengers stop it?" His voice seemed to tremble slightly. Nick Fury's face is also ugly. But compared to Phil Coulson and others, Nick Fury is slightly better. Hearing Phil Coulson's question, Nick Fury glanced down slowly. There, Lin Yu still stood quietly behind the Avengers members. That figure seemed to make Nick Fury feel a strange sense of security. Could it be? Is Lin Yu really so powerful in his own mind? In the face of such a powerful enemy, can he really resist it? Nick Fury shook his head slightly and said, "If you can't stop it, this world will be over." Everyone in the room knows that what Nick Fury said is true. However, they are not reconciled. But at this time, Nick Fury suddenly spoke again. "However, I think Lin Yu must have a way," Nick Fury said firmly. Nick Fury has a very strange trust in Lin Yu. Especially when Lin Yu and him are on the same line. It can be said that on the entire Earth, apart from Sharon and Wanda, it is Nick Fury who knows Lin Yu best. They have had the most contacts. At the same time, Nick Fury is also the most aware of Lin Yu's weirdness. So, although facing the terrifying army of Thanos, Nick Fury's expression still somewhat calm. Nick Fury's calmness seems to have affected the faces of the people behind him, Phil Coulson and Hill, and the faces of the others have gradually recovered from panic. At the moment, standing in front of the window, everyone's eyes turned to the back of the quiet standing behind the Avengers. Lin Yu's image seems to grow taller and taller. On the battlefield, endless vanguards madly attacked the position in front of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building. Standing in the distance, Thanos was like an emperor, staring at the enemy in front of him. There is no wave in his heart. These so-called Avengers on the Earth, he did not pay attention to them at all. The corner of his mouth was even slightly curved. But at this moment, Thanos suddenly saw a young man standing behind the Avengers. His mouth was slightly cocked, and he seemed to be smiling. The same as my own smile. It's the kind of feeling that seems to be in control. Thanos was taken aback for a moment. Lin Yu's smile is too abrupt in this situation. The Avengers in front of him all looked nervous, but why did he laugh? Why does this smile look so familiar? At the same time, Lin Yu also saw Thanos' eyes looking at him. The smile on Lin Yu's face increased. For the current Thanos, Lin Yu has no fear at all. If he owns all the infinite gems, he might be able to make Lin Yu more cautious. But now, there are 3 infinite gems in my hands, so I don't need to worry too much. And now that Thanos is here and has brought such a huge army, let him look at his own army. Lin Yu suddenly moved. Wave gently. Beside Lin Yu, several large spatial ripples appeared. After accumulating for so long, all Lin Yu's power is finally about to descend on the earth. First, in one of the spatial ripples, the figures of Bumblebee and Erha slowly walked over. Erha's body changed rapidly. It only took a few seconds to turn into a huge amounts of Hell's three-headed dog. But, completely different from the normal three-headed hell dog, Erha has a lot of colors on his body. There is a bright yellow that represents slaughter, red that represents extremis, and black that represents hellfire. In short, at the moment Erha's body is like a hodgepodge. However, it still looks terrifying. The other side. The Bumblebee, shown with purple light, is very sci-fi. On his chest, a purple reality gem, beautifully defeated. This scene made Thanos look happy. Reality gem, if it can be embedded on its own infinity gauntlet, then its strength will be greatly improved. But the look of the Bumblebee made Thanos slightly puzzled. He did not expect that there would be such a species on the Earth. Mechanical life? Or a mechanical life that can use infinite gems? Just when Thanos was slightly confused, the Bumblebee moved suddenly. Lin Yu didn't know what he said softly, and the whole body of the Bumblebee began to emit a violent purple light. Immediately afterwards, in the ripples of space behind the Hornet, a huge shape-shifting King Kong suddenly appeared. Those shape-shifting diamonds are all made from the previous shield aircraft. Their body size is bigger than that of a Bumblebee. A total of 7 huge amounts of shape-shifting King Kong, just standing there, with a very terrifying power. This scene also surprised the Avengers standing in the front. Then a smile of surprise appeared on his face. Lin Yu should be on his side. Then, the stronger Lin Yu's power and the greater the strength of his subordinates, the better for them. Far away. When Thanos saw the huge shape-shifting King Kong, the smile on his face suddenly disappeared. He did not expect that there would be so many such robots. He could see that those robots were loaded with terrifying firepower. On this kind of battlefield, he can definitely cause great damage to his vanguard. But Thanos only cared a little bit. The number of vanguards under him is terrifying. A slight loss will not have much impact on Thanos' overall strength at all. But this is just the smallest force under Lin Yu. Immediately afterwards, Thanos saw that in the ripples of space on the other side of Lin Yu, another thing came out. It was a huge amounts of wolf-shaped creature. Its height was even taller than the three-headed dog of hell, and its eyes glowed with green light, like a monster from the underworld. Behind that huge amounts of nether wolf, there were countless Asgard undead warriors. These are all summoned by Hela. As they constantly walked out of the ripples in space, the temperature on the entire battlefield seemed to become colder. At the moment, Thor naturally saw the Asgard undead warriors emerging from the ripples of space. His eyes widened and his mouth opened slightly, seeming to be extremely surprised. He had fought these undead warriors in Asgard before, but he didn't expect that now Hela would summon them all to the earth. Do you want to fight alongside them? When seeing the Asgard undead warriors one after another coming out of the ripples of space, the calm on Thanos' face was finally broken. He frowned slightly, as if he had a bad feeling in his heart. He naturally knew those Asgard undead warriors. He had studied the combat effectiveness of the Asgard people a long time ago, and specifically inquired about Asgard's news. These undead warriors, although their individual strengths are average, are not afraid of death. Even after death, they can slowly recover. It is a very difficult unit to deal with, but why do Asgard people appear here? Shouldn't they fight in battle now? Immediately afterwards, Thanos looked at the woman standing behind Lin Yu. Thanos suddenly felt a little familiar. It seems that a portrait given to me by my subordinate supergiant is this woman. Correct. Thanos suddenly remembered. That woman seems to be the goddess of death in Asgard, Hela. The woman who used to fight everywhere with Odin in his heyday. At the same time, the top floor of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building. In front of the window. When Nick Fury and his men saw the shape-shifting King Kong and undead warriors suddenly appearing next to Lin Yu, their expressions also changed. The panic and tension on their faces slowly disappeared. Phil Coulson, Hill and others finally understood why their boss Nick Fury trusted Lin Yu so much. Because Lin Yu's men are really too powerful. Moreover, it is too weird. Not only the huge robots, but also the soldiers with green eyes. There are also 2 huge amounts of monsters. A monster that looks more terrifying than Thanos's. But Nick Fury knows, this is not all Lin Yu's strength. In other words, Lin Yu's strongest strength did not appear. Because Nick Fury has always felt that the green guy who appeared during the Battle of New York was the strongest under Lin Yu. At this time, one of the ripples in the space around Lin Yu once again had a new movement. Everyone's eyes were also focused on that spatial ripple, including Nick Fury, but also including Thanos in the distance. Thanos also wanted to see how many lives could come out of those spatial ripples. At this moment, just when all the dogs are paying attention to that space Lianqi, inside, a green figure suddenly appeared. That figure is not very tall, it's just about twice as tall as an ordinary human. But his appearance looks very cruel. In his mouth, there are two sharp healing teeth, pointing straight to the sky. In his hand, he held an extremely strangely shaped skeleton staff. When that figure came to the earth, his face suddenly showed a touch of enjoyment. It seems that on the earth, there are many things that make him addicted. But when he saw Lin Yu standing not far away, his eyes suddenly changed. Suddenly, there was a look of surrender in his eyes. Slowly, he knelt on one knee, facing the direction of Lin Yu. There was a buzzing sound in his mouth. Gul'dan, see master. The fell magician, Gul'dan, finally descended on the earth again. At the time of the Battle of New York, he had not so much respect for Lin Yu. But after the system was promoted, Lin Yu's control over him became stronger and stronger. Even Lin Yu could easily take Gul'dan's life with a single thought. And in Gul'dan's heart, he completely surrendered to Lin Yu. Lin Yu was also slightly surprised when he saw Gul'dan standing in front of him with his own eyes. Seeing from a distance is totally different from seeing up close. At the moment, Lin Yu nodded slowly and said, "Get up." After hearing Lin Yu's words, Gul'dan slowly stood up. Immediately afterwards, his gaze saw the huge vanguard army in the distance, as well as the extremely conspicuous Thanos and others standing quietly in the distance. Gul'dan immediately understood the reason Lin Yu's master called him over. He lowered his head and asked Lin Yu slowly, "Master, do you need me to bring my army?" Before, Lin Yu knew that Gul'dan had controlled the entire tribe. So, this time, Lin Yu was also ready to let the orcs of the tribe participate in the war. After all, Thanos has too many men. With the participation of the orcs, it is easier to deal with those terrifying vanguards. Lin Yu nodded again and said, "Call all your men over here." This time, Lin Yu is not prepared to retain his strength. After all, Thanos is the biggest boss in the early Marvel world. Facing Thanos, there is no need to hide his strength anymore. After hearing Lin Yu's order, a smile suddenly appeared on King Gul'dan's ugly face. Immediately afterwards, Gul'dan's mouth suddenly chanted some spells that Lin Yu could not understand at all. Soon, behind Gul'dan, the ground began to rumble. The earthquake trembled. The earth is shaking and the mountains are shaking. A portal made up of huge stones slowly rises. On both sides of the portal, there are two Asgardian figures holding long swords, while in the center of the portal, there is a faint green light. After that, huge amounts of portal finally all exposed on the ground. In the portal, a ripple suddenly flashed. A guy who didn't look much different from Gul'dan, but was taller, walked out slowly. That guy is thicker, and his body's skin is also green. On his two shoulders, he is wearing two huge amounts of skeleton armor. When he appeared on the earth, Lin Yu recognized this guy for the first time. Black Hand. His name is Black Hand. It is the chief of the Blackrock clan in the Orc tribe. It is also one of Gul'dan's most loyal subordinates. Seeing these powerful orcs in reality, the feeling is completely different from seeing in the movie. Especially the terrifying fighters like Black Hand. In his hand, he held a big hammer shaped like a skull with huge amounts of. Just that hammer is bigger than a human body. And this is not over yet. Just after Black Hand appeared, behind him, more orc warriors began to walk out one after another. All of them have become Gul'dan's men. All have been contaminated by fell energy. In their eyes, all are bloodthirsty desires. Especially after arriving on Earth, the evil energy in their bodies began to move around. The breath of life on Earth made these orcs feel the great temptation. It's not over yet. Just as those orcs walked out of the portal one after another. Beside Gul'dan, a golden round portal suddenly appeared. Behind the portal, a group of humans appeared. These human beings wear uniform robes, and the leader is a bald woman. Ancient One also received the call of Gul'dan. After the portal opened, Ancient One slowly walked onto the battlefield with Strange, Mordu, and Caecilius behind him. Behind them, there are countless Kamar Taj magicians. Only they are a little different from those in the movie plot. Including Ancient One and Strange, as well as those ordinary magicians, their eyes all shone with green light. It was the same color as the skin on Gul'dan. At this moment, when Ancient One came to the battlefield, he knelt down on one knee to Gul'dan for the first time. He said, "Ancient One, take part in the Great Master." Behind Ancient One, all the magicians, including Strange, also knelt on one knee beside Gul'dan. Mouth high roar. Participate in the Great Master. As the portals successively stepped out of many powerful men, the strength of the Avengers side has also undergone drastic changes. At the moment, behind Lin Yu, on the huge amounts of square in front of the SHIELD headquarters building, soldiers of all kinds were already standing. There is a huge, sci-fi sense of shapeshifting King Kong. There is an Asgard undead warrior holding a long sword that looks like the deadman's corpse. There are ugly, but extremely strong fell orc warriors. There are also many magicians whose eyes are glowing green and have been completely swallowed by evil energy. These humans, undead and orcs look like a bunch of miscellaneous army. But no one dared to question their strength. Especially the ones standing in front of the soldiers. Gul'dan, holding his skull staff with one hand, with a trace of bloodthirsty desire in his eyes, coldly looked at the Thanos army in the distance, his mouth seemed to be slightly cocked. Ancient One magician and Strange, the green eyes reveal a little madness, they have already felt the strong life force. Bumblebee's body flickered with purple light. Under his influence, 8 huge amounts of shapeshifting King Kong also appeared purple light. Bumblebee has passed the power of the reality gem to the 8 shapeshifting King Kong companions, greatly enhanced their strength. 2 magic swords had appeared in Hela's hands, and his hair became as sharp as antlers. There was a smile on her face, as if she was looking forward to the next battle. There are Erha, Wanda, and Sharon. The 3 guys who have been with Lin Yu for the longest time are also ready to move. On the contrary, Lin Yu, standing in front of everyone, looked like a passerby, somewhat unremarkable. But no one underestimated Lin Yu, because those guys who seem extremely powerful are all standing behind Lin Yu. Moreover, in the eyes of Lin Yu, there is only respect and surrender. This insinuates that Lin Yu is their boss. At the moment, the Avengers who were standing in front of Lin Yu suddenly stepped back quietly to the side. They were even a little scared in their hearts. Originally they were the protagonists of this war, but they did not expect that in less than half a minute, Lin Yu had already summoned such a huge army. And they even discovered that compared to Thanos' vanguard army, the group of guys behind Lin Yu seemed more terrifying. The green light looks extremely evil. Those orcs were like evil spirits reborn, and their saliva was about to flow out after seeing the enemy. So, the Avengers finally couldn't help the fear in their hearts and slowly retreated to the side. They don't want to be in the middle of the 2 armies when they fight for a while. In the SHIELD headquarters building, when Lin Yu summoned all his subordinates, there was a roar of shock from behind Nick Fury. All the people who had a pessimistic view of this war were all shocked by Lin Yu's terrifying power. There are so many of his men. Moreover, those human beings are fine. Although both eyes are emitting green light, it looks a little abnormal. But he actually has such a strange subordinate. Orc. Undead. Shapeshifting King Kong. This simply broke the limit of everyone's imagination. But fortunately, Lin Yu is his own and is on his side. After thinking of this most critical issue, everyone became a little excited. It seems that Lin Yu suddenly became their savior. And whether it is an orc or an undead, in their opinion, it is actually a little cute. What a lovely group of fighters. But compared to people on the Earth, Thanos' mood is not so good. When he saw the first wave of enemies appear, he still slightly despised. But when the second wave appeared, he was already a little cautious. It wasn't until Gul'dan led a huge tribe of orcs to descend on the Earth that he realized that he seemed to have estimated something wrong. That is, the Earth doesn't seem to be as simple as what I saw in intelligence. Those undead warriors are fortunate to explain, after all, they are the products of this world. Thanos also knew about the Asgard undead warrior. But he had never seen those orcs. They look a bit like their daughter Gamora's race, Zehubeli people. However, it's just that the color of the skin looks a little bit like. Compared to the Zehubergs, these orcs look like natural warriors. They even looked more terrifying than their own vanguard army. Definitely, these ordinary soldiers are not yet a threat to Thanos. But when Thanos saw the few people standing behind Lin Yu, he seemed a little uncomfortable. Thanos first recognized it, naturally the supreme magician Ancient One. But in the news that Thanos received, Ancient One hadn't appeared for a long time. It seems that her birthday is over. Thanos has also heard of the strength of Ancient One. That is the existence of Megatron in the entire universe. Even Thanos didn't dare to be an enemy of Ancient One before he got the power gem. The second one is Hela. Hela, the goddess of death, is also a figure who has become famous a long time ago, and is also powerful in the universe. Her strength is also beyond doubt. But these two people are not what Thanos is most worried about. At the moment, Thanos' eyes have been staring closely at the green figure behind Lin Yu. The guy who was called the Master by Ancient One and bowed down on one knee to salute. Fell Warlock, Gul'dan. A distance of hundreds of meters, two guys who were extremely powerful in their respective worlds finally met. There was a deep dignity in Thanos' eyes, and Gul'dan squinted his eyes, and bloodthirsty rays of light flowed in his eyes. War. It finally broke out. Lin Yu waved his hand gently, and the soldiers behind him frantically greeted the vanguards who had come. Hand in hand. In an instant, the pros and cons were distinguished. Although Vanguard is strong, he is just a fighter who doesn't think about ability. But Lin Yu's men are not just fighters. The magicians who possessed fell energy all used the power of fell energy. In front of the evil energy, those vanguards are like living targets, and they will instantly contribute their vitality. After absorbing the vitality, those magicians seem to have tasted the sweetness and began to attack more fiercely. The Orc army completely defeated the vanguards with brute force. As for the shape-shifting diamonds that had some of the power of the reality gem, they launched intensive fire support. Erha naturally rushed up excitedly. How can this kind of battle be without militants like it? When the battle just started, Thanos noticed his disadvantage. The enemy is too powerful. Vanguard suffered a heavy loss in an instant. Thanos could only wave his hand gently and let his 4 obsidians go out to balance the situation. But after Ebony Maw and others joined the battle, Lin Yu's Hela and Ancient One also joined the battlefield. All of a sudden, the battle became more and more chaotic. This chaotic battle has already begun. Even the Avengers joined the battle one by one. The entire battlefield. Only Thanos in the distance was left. Lin Yu and Gul'dan behind him did not move. Lin Yu's ability has only one Extremis power up to now. Although it is Extremis with no shortcomings after system improvement, it is basically useless in this kind of battle. But Lin Yu stood in the battlefield, but didn't care. He believes in the system that he has now been promoted to the top level. Definitely. As Lin Yu's most loyal servant, Gul'dan will not let Lin Yu fall into any danger. Every time an enemy approached, Gul'dan would gently wave the skeleton staff in his hand to destroy the enemy in advance. Gul'dan is like a most loyal guard, always guarding Lin Yu's side. On the battlefield. In addition to Lin Yu's men and Thanos' men, there are also SHIELD agents and soldiers from the New York military district. They are completely cannon fodder in this war. The war was only just beginning, and they were devastated. Whether it is touched by a vanguard or an orc lightly, those fragile humans will instantly suffer huge amounts of damage. And the guns in their hands have had a big effect on those rough-skinned vanguards. In the SHIELD headquarters building, Nick Fury discovered this right away. He hurriedly ordered, and said to Hill, "Hurry up, inform all the agents, all retreat to a safe distance, they are cannon fodder in there." Hill also realized the seriousness of the problem. The following agents are almost all the power of SHIELD. If they all die on the battlefield, then SHIELD may suffer heavy losses. Hill hurriedly notified the following agents. But in this chaotic battlefield, even if you want to evacuate, it is not an easy task. Nick Fury also discovered this. When those agents start to turn around and run backwards, they will instead become the most noticeable target of vanguards. Moreover, without the protection of the trenches, those agents are completely fish to be slaughtered. Even in front of the windows of the SHIELD headquarters building, Nick Fury also saw many cases where his agents were accidentally injured. Said it was accidentally injured, it actually looks more like murder. Those human beings with green eyes glowing from where they appeared, unexpectedly released a green light, washing many of their subordinates into corpses in the chaos. Those evil guys, whether they are humans or vanguards, will attack. Regardless of enemy and meat. But they did not deal with Lin Yu's men. It seems that no matter how evil people are, there are things to be afraid of. The battle continues. However, Thanos couldn't help it. Watching his vanguard army more and more fell into a decline. The bad premonition in his heart is getting stronger and stronger. This time, Liu Zhang came directly to the earth, which seemed to be a wrong decision. Thanos had no idea that there should be such a powerful force on the earth. If all of his vanguard army fails, he will face tens of thousands of enemies. By the time, even if I have 2 infinite gems, I am afraid that 2 fists are hard to beat 4 hands. At the moment, Thanos finally made up his mind. If you want to win this war, it doesn't seem that you can send an army of vanguards to solve the battle like you did before conquering other planets. This time, it seems that you have to do it yourself. And he can only end this war by killing that young Earthling. Thanos can naturally see that among these enemies, the Earthling who looks a little thin is the leader. Even the guy who is covered in green, although powerful, is only a servant. They are all servants of that Earthman. Kill him, or capture him, this war will be won. Thanos glanced at the Infinity Gauntlet in his hand. Then, slowly came towards Lin Yu's direction. He did not go to see Lin Yu. His gaze has been tightly focused on Gul'dan beside Lin Yu. It seemed that he wanted to shoot Gul'dan, but his ultimate goal is Lin Yu. Provoking Gul'dan was only because Thanos wanted to divert Gul'dan's attention. Just now, Thanos noticed, Gul'dan seemed to be protecting Lin Yu. Thanos felt that he had discovered the breakthrough point to win this war. The human beings on Earth don't seem to be very powerful. Or, he should be strong in some aspects, but he should be weak in combat power. Otherwise, he would not keep the strongest subordinate around him to protect himself. The corner of Thanos' mouth was slightly curved, and he walked towards Lin Yu slowly. Passing through the battlefield, a few insignificant orc warriors were solved by the way. Thanos, who has 2 infinite gems, power gems and soul gem, is not comparable to ordinary orc warriors. But what he didn't know was, the reason Lin Yu didn't let Gul'dan take the shot was not because Lin Yu needed Gul'dan's protection. Instead, this kind of small battle does not require Gul'dan to participate. He also doesn't like this kind of battle at all. After a while, Thanos finally came slowly to Lin Yu, just a few meters away. Around Thanos and Lin Yu, it seemed that suddenly it became a little quiet. All the soldiers quietly moved a few steps to the side. For the 2 bosses, Thanos and Lin Yu, a vacant lot was vacated. Seeing the most powerful boss Thanos in the early Marvel world at such a close distance, Lin Yu has lost the excitement he used to be. After experiencing so much, Lin Yu also had metamorphosis a long time ago. After upgrading the system to the top level, it can be said that Lin Yu has almost nothing to fear in this Marvel universe. Even if it is Mie, he can't let Lin Yu feel any waves in his heart. Looking at the purple head in front of him, Lin Yu suddenly felt a little dull. It's like, Huashan Lunjian, he has already obtained the status of number 1 in the world, and then to watch those martial arts disputes, it feels like those people are playing a house. Go. Get rid of him. Lin Yu didn't look back, just faintly commanded Gul'dan. After hearing Lin Yu's order, Gul'dan finally showed a bloodthirsty look on his face again. He picked up the skeleton staff sticking to the ground and walked slowly in front of Lin Yu. Face Thanos. On the entire battlefield, Gul'dan was only interested in this Thanos. In him, Gul'dan felt extremely terrifying vitality. The evil energy in his body is already about to move. The battle between Thanos and Gul'dan is like a battle between a warrior and a magician. Thanos is clearly a powerful fighter, and Titans are notoriously rough and thick in the universe. Especially his magical immunity ability is invincible in the entire universe. Any magic hit him, it seemed to tickle, but Gul'dan, the magician, is a bit nondescript. People in the Marvel world know that magician is called Roar. But they didn't know that in World of Warcraft, there was another profession they didn't know. This profession is somewhat similar to magician, but also holds a staff and attacks from a distance. But they are not called magician, instead. Warlock. Yes, Gul'dan is not a magician, but a warlock, and a fell warlock. Even in the profession of warlock, it is also the strangest and most powerful. Thanos had never seen Gul'dan, and naturally didn't know what Gul'dan's ability was. He just saw the staff in Gul'dan's hand, and thought that Gul'dan would use a variety of spells just like a normal magician. When Gul'dan raised his staff, and then a green light struck from the skull staff towards Thanos. Thanos dismissed it at all. He didn't put the green light in his eyes at all. In his view, all the spells will not have too strong effects on him. Even if it is a strong person of the same level, if he uses a spell, he is basically invincible. However, When the green energy touched Thanos' body, he was suddenly shocked. Only then did he realize that he was so wrong. The green energy he had never seen before. It's not an imaginary spell. It is an extremely evil energy. That energy completely ignored the magic resistance of his body. Followed his skin and got into his body. In an instant, Thanos' entire body was filled with that green energy. Even the brain is at stake. After that energy occupied his body, he began to think of the brain attacking. For an instant, Thanos' body stopped in place. He felt that he couldn't control his body. What was even more frightening was that he suddenly discovered that after occupying his body, those green energies started to absorb something from his body. Those things are invisible. Oh my! Thanos soon understood what was being sucked away. It's your own life. As a clan of titans, his vitality is quite strong. But after only a few seconds, he felt as if he was older than before. Very slight. But it is also terrible. For the titans, the passing of life is quite slow. However, he could actually feel the passing of life. This means that in the few seconds just now, at least 1% or more of his vitality was sucked away. Thanos' face was full of panic, and the opposite. Gul'dan opposite him, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Two bright green rays of light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, the staff in his hand began to burst out with a fierce green light. The green energy connecting Gul'dan and Thanos also instantly became extremely strong. Gul'dan, as a domineering fellow in his world, he was not as innocent as he seemed on the surface. It looks a little dull now, because in front of Lin Yu, he doesn't dare to think too much. But now, in the battle with the enemy, he naturally wanted to make a plan. In the beginning, there was only a very small piece of green energy. That's why Thanos didn't pay attention to it. And now, after seeing Thanos being completely infiltrated by the evil energy because of underestimating the enemy, Gul'dan no longer hides his strength. The small evil energy before, instantly expanded more than 10 times. The green energy of the original arm thickness has directly become more than 10 times the thickness. The green evil energy of this statement directly envelops Thanos' body as a whole. At the moment, on the battlefield, when the evil energy in Gul'dan's body completely broke out, Ancient One and Strange on the battlefield also instantly perceived it. The two of them, turning their heads at the same time, looked at the horrible evil energies. The faces of the two of them were full of horror. After they had gained fell energy before, they were actually a little swollen. I thought I was omnipotent. But after seeing the evil energy released by their master, Gul'dan, they realized that their own power might not even count as a fart in front of Gul'dan. The evil energy released from Gul'dan is really too huge. Just looking at it from a distance, it feels a terrifying sense of oppression. And they have absorbed the vitality of many enemies in the battle. By absorbing the vitality, they also found that absorbing the vitality is the most important means to enhance the evil energy. After absorbing the vitality, they also understood the horror of the evil energies on Gul'dan. The evil energy in Gul'dan is estimated to absorb hundreds of thousands of people, and he may not be able to reach that level. Fear. Evil. The evil breath is constantly expanding between Gul'dan and Thanos. Those guys who were close to Gul'dan in the green fell were instantly infected. Including the Vanguard who doesn't think about ability. As soon as he approached, he would be instantly swallowed by the fell energy, and then a green light radiated from his eyes. The same goes for humans, but Lin Yu is very safe. After all, with the existence of a system, it is impossible for one's own host to become a fell puppet. And Gul'dan did not dare to infect Lin Yu with evil energy, so he controlled the huge evil energy on his body, and did not affect Lin Yu, the master behind him at all. When the evil energy on Gul'dan began to explode, Thanos' brain was breached in an instant. His thoughts also fell in an instant. The hands that were tightly held together slowly loosened. His infinity gauntlet is in his hand, but there is no chance to use it. Warrior versus warlock, there is no chance of winning at all. Especially this warrior couldn't even get close to the warlock's body. The battle on the battlefield continues, but when Thanos' figure was completely covered by evil energy, Ebony Maw and others also felt bad in their hearts. Originally, Thanos was at a disadvantage in this melee. Now, the leader Thanos is also trapped. General Ebony Maw, General Corvus Glaive and others felt that Thanos was trapped, but what they didn't know was that Thanos was more than just trapped. If they knew that their leader Thanos had been completely swallowed by the evil energy and completely turned into a puppet of the evil energy, then they would be scared to turn and run away immediately. Definitely. Running away can only be a joke. When they set foot on the earth, their fate had already been decided. The battle continues. Thor played a big role in this battle. Among all the Avengers, it should be the one that played the most role. After all, he can control thunder and lightning can cause great damage to Vanguard. And since Thor had the Storm Axe, his strength has also improved by a large margin. At the moment, he is full of spirits. Swiping the Storm Axe in his hand, he split the front guard in half. Hurricane of blood. Countless blood splashed on Thor's face and body. This aroused his fighting spirit even more. He looked at the Storm Axe he loved in the center of his hand, and the corner of his mouth grinned slightly, as if he roared like a beast. From the battle to the present, the time has actually just passed less than 2 minutes. Thor has warmed up. He was almost unable to control the violent thunder and lightning power in his body. War. Thor roared loudly, then raised his head and looked at the enemies around. However, when Thor looked around, he suddenly noticed. The enemy is gone. Just now there were at least a dozen Vanguard guards by his side? Where are you now? What about those monsters? Thor feels a little regretful. He looked around him carefully. Suddenly found a hint. On his left side, there are several Vanguard bodies. Those corpses all have a common feature, that is, they have a magic sword in their bodies. The magic sword is very familiar. It is his sister, the ability that Hela, the goddess of death, is best at. So fast. Thor was slightly startled. Just after he had just hacked a Vanguard and screamed, Hela killed at least 5 or 6. And Thor looked in the distance. Hela swung several magic swords again, and several Vanguards died under her sword again. Thor's face turned a little ugly. I couldn't beat Hela, but I didn't expect that there would be such a big gap in killing the enemy. Then Thor looked to his right. There are also a few corpses over there. But something different from the other corpses is that the corpses of these Vanguards have all turned into mummy corpses. The moisture on their bodies seemed to be sucked away. Now it is only possible to see what they looked like before they were alive only through their 4 arms. Thor looked to the distance on the right again. Just to see, Ancient One released 4 or 5 green rays of light, connecting several Vanguard guards around her. And the bodies of those Vanguard guards quickly became shriveled. In less than 5 or 6 seconds, those Vanguard guards turned into corpses and crashed to the ground. A more violent green light burst out of Ancient One's eyes. Her face was filled with a strange look of longing. It's like those addicts got their favorite things. Thor doesn't want to look at it anymore. This hit me too much. But he finally couldn't help but look in front of him. He remembered that there were at least 10 Vanguard guards there just now. However, when he looked forward, suddenly discovered that it was not just the Vanguard workers who had disappeared. Even the ground was completely sunken in and turned into a big pit. I'm afraid, just as I screamed from the sky, the place was blown into a big pit. Look into the distance. As expected, Thor found another figure. It was a figure radiating purple light all over. It seems that science fiction is full of sense. It is the shape-shifting King Kong that the car next to Lin Yu turned into. At the moment, the Hornet is unleashing the most powerful firepower on its body. After he owns the Reality Gem, he not only gets the huge almost infinite energy in the Reality Gem, also got a hint of power from the Reality Gem. At the moment, he stood still, but the earth under his feet was slowly flowing. Right. It's flow. But it is not that the land is flowing, but the metal elements in the earth are flowing. Through the ability of Reality Gem, the Hornet can directly absorb the metal elements in the earth, as well as various metals buried in the ground. Then, turn them into all kinds of powerful weapons in an instant. Every time it exploded, it meant that the Hornet had killed several Vanguard guards. Thor was completely stunned. He no longer knows how to describe his current mood. Look around. There were already a few Vanguard guards who were all over the mountains and plains. Even if you can see a few, they are all being besieged. What is the fight? Is this a battle? It should be called torture. Thor wanted to cry without tears, and originally wanted to play well, but he didn't expect that the fighting spirit he had just aroused was completely ridiculous. There is no enemy to kill at all, don't yanner, blame. On the battlefield. Like Thor's feeling, the Avengers didn't feel very hard, and the battle was almost over. It seemed that Thanos, who looked like the principal, turned out to be a paper tiger. At the moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the center of the battlefield. There is a huge amounts of green light group. Vaguely you can see that there is a tall shadow in the green light group. It seems that it is Thanos, but his current situation seems a bit bad. It's not bad, it's very bad. At this moment, Thanos was surrounded by evil energy, and Mo Yang had undergone great changes. His body, as if he hadn't eaten for hundreds of years, had almost become skin and bones. The eye sockets have collapsed and the lips have become dry tumors. And a faint green light appeared in his eyes. He is about to lose his autonomy. But Thanos is still Thanos. He is the most powerful villain in the early Marvel world. The strength really cannot be booed. If it wasn't for Gul'dan's strength to be too weird, he might not have seen it so much if he wanted to fight. At the moment, like a flashback, Thanos' eyes suddenly widened. He realized the crisis of his current situation. Thanos suddenly shouted, "Mothership fired with all strength." His voice was hoarse, completely different from before. But Ebony Maw, who was dying, heard his master's voice. He also hurriedly shouted, "Fire all!" On Thanos' spacecraft, hundreds of railguns suddenly stood up. Thanos' spacecraft is quite huge. Each of those railguns is hundreds of meters long. One round of their salvo can almost destroy a small planet. Thanos has no other way now. The orbital gun on his spacecraft is already his last resort. He has only one hope now. That is, when the railgun fired at full force, taking advantage of the chaos, quietly escaped. It is impossible to win this war. In the Marvel movie, Thanos used the weapons on his spaceship to change the situation that he was about to lose. This time, he had the same idea. Thanos didn't think those weapons could deal with these powerful guys. But at least he should be able to create a chance for himself to escape. And Thanos, what is needed most now is such an opportunity. However, Thanos miscalculated one thing. That is, on this battlefield, the most powerful is not Ancient One with Time Gem and Evil ability. It was not a powerful Gul'dan who made himself helpless. Instead, Lin Yu, who stood at the end and never made a move, just watching everything quietly. That thin earthling. Lin Yu's body is not strong, but his system has advanced to the top. At the moment, just when Thanos' spacecraft had erected all its weapons, it was about to attack the ground. In Lin Yu's mind, Ha-10, the system prompt sounded instantly. Ding. Thanos' spaceship Holy Place 2 attacked the host. It's too much of a weapon. The spacecraft's intelligent system couldn't stand it anymore, and it mutated. It actively sent a signal of surrender to the Hornet, expressing its willingness to join the shape-shifting King Kong team. At this moment, all the people on the battlefield raised their heads and looked towards the sky. Thanos' universe is very, very huge. Those weapons also looked terrifying. But just when everyone was ready to resist the attack from Holy Place 2, those weapons were suddenly taken back. At the same time, Lin Yu also received a communication from the Hornet in his headset. "Boss, the spaceship in the sky, can you join us?" Bumblebee asked weakly. He was actually a little bit reluctant to force it. That spaceship should be the enemy's spaceship, but it suddenly sent a signal to myself, wanting to join myself. This makes Bumblebee completely unexpected. Very weird. It's weird. Therefore, Bumblebee asked his owner Lin Yu for the first time. At the moment, after hearing what the Hornet said, Lin Yu nodded slowly and said, "Yes, go and receive it." Lin Yu also has some expectations. What would it look like if such a huge spaceship became a shape-shifting King Kong? That picture should look quite spectacular. At this time, a fierce flame burst out of the back of the Hornet. His figure also flew towards Holy Place 2 in an instant. At the same time, on the ground, when Thanos yelled the last sentence and fired with all his strength, his consciousness had fallen into a semi-conscious state again. His thinking has become increasingly blurred. Under the erosion of the evil energy, it is estimated that in 1 or 2 minutes, he will be completely fallen. And his body is also much worse than before. At the moment Thanos, it is estimated that he weighs only half of his previous weight. The passing of vitality in his body weakened his strength greatly. Except Thanos. Thanos' men are also very sad. General Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight in the Obsidian 5 had both been killed in battle. Ancient One and Strange, one by one, drained their vitality. Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf, who were still breathing, were also scarred and almost lost their combat effectiveness. Those Vanguard guards have also become 2 or 3 big cats and kittens from the beginning of the mountains and plains. SHIELD headquarters building. Nick Fury and his men's faces changed and changed. From the initial panic to the later hopes, until now, the joy of victory is all on his face. Especially Nick Fury, he feels very good now. From the first time I saw Lin Yu, he was faintly aware that Lin Yu's strength was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Although Nick Fury is not a superhero, and he has no super ability, it is not without reason that he can flourish in the chaotic Marvel world. The biggest reason is that he sees people very accurately. Nick Fury has always believed in his instincts very much. So, since seeing Lin Yu for the first time, he has always maintained the greatest respect for Lin Yu. Regardless of Lin Yu's requirements, he will meet them. Moreover, I have been trying my best to maintain a friendly relationship with Lin Yu. Even if Lin Yu indirectly destroyed the headquarters building of S.H.I.E.L.D., even if Lin Yu corrupted the S.H.I.E.L.D. space carrier and several planes, Nick Fury never showed any dissatisfaction. But today, when seeing Lin Yu suddenly summoning such a powerful army, Nick Fury felt that everything was worth it. All my forbearance, all my flattery, are worth it. Lin Yu's strength has completely exceeded Nick Fury's imagination. But just when the situation on the battlefield became clearer and clearer, Nick Fury suddenly found out. Thanos' huge spaceship seemed a bit wrong. It seemed to tremble slightly. On the upper floors of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building, Nick Fury is closer to Holy Place 2, so he can see more clearly. With the trembling of Holy Place 2, the entire sky seemed to tremble slightly. There was a buzzing sound in the entire sky. It was as if something came alive, followed by. Nick Fury saw a scene he will never forget. Sky. That huge spaceship actually started shapeshifting. On the battlefield. All people, except those vanguards who have no sense of autonomy, raised their heads. Their eyes were full of panic. Overhead. The huge spaceship made an unusual click sound. Then, in 2 minutes, it became a huge amounts of shapeshifting King Kong. His feet are almost bigger than the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters building. On his limbs and back, there are countless thrusters that allow him to float in the air. On the ground, no one could see clearly the appearance of that behemoth. Because his head is beyond the clouds at all. At this time, suddenly, an ear-splitting sound rang out in the sky. That voice came from the Frontier King Kong just after shapeshifting. Shapeshifting King Kong, Holy Place Knight, see the Great Master. The sound resounded across the sky. And just after this voice fell, everyone involuntarily looked at the figure standing quietly in the middle of the battlefield. Although it looks thin and weak, it seems to be a figure like a master. At this moment, Ancient One knelt on one knee slowly, his mouth was high roar. Supreme Magician Ancient One, see the Great Master. Strange and the Kamar Taj magicians also knelt on one knee, with high mouths. Roar, see the Great Master. Hela, leading her Asgard Undead Legion, kneeled high roar. Bumblebee led 7 huge amounts of shapeshifting King Kong, kneeling high roar. Finally, Gul'dan finally withdrew his spell. Leading all of the orc warriors, kneeling on one knee, with a high mouth roar. Fell Warlock, Gul'dan, see the Great Master. At this moment, Thanos, who had become skinny, the green light on his body finally slowly dissipated. In his eyes, the initial arrogance was gone. His legs trembled slightly, and he knelt down at Lin Yu. On the entire battlefield, except Wanda, Sharon and Erha standing quietly behind Lin Yu, everyone else knelt on the ground.